Hello, everyone. Good to meet you all. My name is Lincoln. I do AI stuff at Coinbase, and I'm very excited to talk to you today about what we're thinking and how we're moving towards agentic commerce and agentic finance very broadly. So I'll be talking a little bit about sort of where we are now and this vision that we have for agentic finance and agentic commerce broadly, why this happened and some of the initial use cases and traction that we're seeing, and also touch a little bit on where we're heading. Next slide, please. Where are we now? Next slide, please. Thank you. So we've been in a very interesting place with the crypto space broadly and with AI as well. Back in around late 2024, we had this crypto AI inflection point where people were combining the two technologies for the first time. At Coinbase, we were working on something called Agentic, which is this tool that we created to give every AI agent access to a crypto wallet. And it got a lot of traction. People were very interested in doing these early use cases, like agents deploying smart contracts or NFTs or buying and selling tokens, all these really cool things, but very isolated to this world of just crypto activities. And ultimately, that was cool. It was fun. But it wasn't really getting the mainstream adoption or sort of breaking into this wider world that we're all pretty hungry for now in the crypto space at this point. We need to break outside of this larger crypto bubble. And to put it in another way, what we really saw is that these agents had wallets, but they didn't have anything to pay for. So we were looking to find a way to enable agents to start to interact with the broader set of things that exist on the internet. And fortunately, as York alluded to, a lot of the work had already been done in terms of the thought leadership and the initial things that had to be put in place for there to be some sort of way for agents to pay for things on the internet. Many of you are probably familiar with HTTP error codes. They're basically the statuses that make up the underpinnings of the internet. And it is effectively how all of our websites and whatnot communicate with one another. 404 is probably the most common one. It means that there's an error and something isn't found. There's all sorts of different ones, though. 200 means success, and there's even one called 418, which means I'm a teapot. Fun fact, it's a little Easter egg. But there's one, actually, which I'm sure that you could guess which one it is, which meant payment required. And as York mentioned, that's been in the spec for the internet for decades, but nobody ever actually implemented it. And, next slide, please. Mark Andreessen actually called it the original sin of the internet, that we didn't have this value transfer layer embedded natively within everything that we were doing. Next slide, please. So that's why Coinbase, among a bunch of our friends, created x402. We saw the inflection point moment between the rise of internet native money and programmable money and stablecoins, as well as just advances in fintech broadly, as well as the AI agents that are acting more autonomously and wanting to engage across the internet, both with other agents and with services that exist, as a very clear opportunity to revive this internet native payments concept and really bring it to life for the first time. I think now is the most exciting opportunity we've seen in a long time for a new type of actor on the internet. And giving that actor money is a huge opportunity to bring together all of these tools that we've been building and composing and solve a lot of the really interesting problems that we found in the crypto space as well, particularly, especially with the UX problems that we've seen with crypto and how we can hand all of the innovations around cryptographic wallets and payments and whatnot to agents and not have to worry about all of the difficulties in a user setting up and engaging with a crypto wallet. Next slide, please. So to give you a very brief overview and keep it pretty high level on exactly how x402 works, it really, at its most basic, it's a way to have a communication standard established between an AI agent or some sort of actor and an API website piece of service on the internet. Let's say I have an AI and I tell my AI, hey, I'd love to turn this PDF that I have into a podcast. I don't want to read anymore. I just want to listen to things. I'm going to have my AI go call some service, like 11 Labs, for example, and say, hey, I would like to pay you for a piece of service. In the previous version of the internet, the only way that this would have been possible is if I previously establish a relationship with a vendor. I go to their website, I sign up, I give them my credit card information, I fund that account with credits, I get API keys, and then I give those to my agents. That's a lot of steps. Instead, I should really just be able to go to this website and say, hey, I would like to pay for a service that you have. The website responds, that's great, but here's a 402 payment required request. And that will define how my AI needs to send money over to get that specific piece of content. It defines the amount, who to send it to, and on what network to send it to. A large misconception around x402 as well is that it's purely stablecoin focused. And while Coinbase specifically, obviously we're a little bit biased towards stablecoins, it can work on any network. And a lot of our friends who helped us create the foundation are building out their own specs to allow their existing financial rails to be used with x402. And we're going to see a explosion in the amount of compatibility and interoperability among all of these different financial layers that is really going to unlock the ability for x402 and agentic commerce to be adopted in a wide variety of ways, with people actually not even realizing that there's crypto involved at all. But anyways, AI gets that request back, sends that payment to the website, and then the content is returned. And it's just that simple. It's really like if you went into a grocery store and before you could check out, you'd have to go buy a gift card and then sign up for that grocery store's account and load your gift card on it. That's the current version of the internet. It just makes no sense. It's much more seamless if the AI is actually the one who has control of the wallet and there's some universal version of payment that is accepted. And that's uniquely unlocked by having the ability to send fee-free payments anywhere in the world, as is enabled by crypto rails, but also broadly by our fintech rails today. Next slide. So since x402 came out in about May of 2025, we've seen some pretty good traction. Our Q4 2025 goal for x402 was to get around 25,000 transactions total. And by the end of Q4, we were seeing that about every 5 minutes. So very clearly this hit a nerve, and we've seen massive adoption across the board with x402 broadly. It's been very exciting to see, but of course the main question is, why is this happening? Why is there so many transactions? What are people using it for? Next slide. So why did this happen? Next slide. I think there are a few main use cases and reasons that people are most excited about interacting with x402 today and where we're going. The first is the ability to give your agent access to a wide variety of services that aren't necessarily available today. You can see in this example, this is exactly what I'm talking about, where your agent can just go search for whatever service it wants to interact with and then pay for that on your behalf. You no longer have to create these boutique vendor relationships. Your agent can act on your behalf and use the money that it has in its wallet to just make these microtransactions and enable all sorts of different requests that aren't natively possible within a standard chat interface. Next slide, please. One of the things that I'm particularly excited about is this concept of the bazaar that lives actually at the x402 protocol level. Basically, it's like a Google for agents. It's a way for anyone to make their different services discoverable and accessible to agents. And I like to think about it as a bazaar because it's meant to be this vibrant, chaotic marketplace where you can imagine your agent wanting to go discover and interact with various different services in a permissionless manner, much like how the early versions of the internet and the ability for you to go search for whatever you want and engage with these websites. But now there's money attached. And when there's money attached, there's a very compelling opportunity for actual services and work to be done in a way that we haven't seen before. Next slide. And I think all of this is leading up to what is going to be making x402 an internet scale standard. We have our friends at Cloudflare, Google, Vercel, AWS, Microsoft, so many different companies here who are interested and engaged and believe in the vision of x402 in this world of agentic commerce. And I think a large part of that is because it is such an open, neutral standard. The goal with Coinbase creating x402 was not value capture. It was broad value creation in the sense that we are now able to have the opportunity to align around something that we haven't had a chance to align on in decades, which is these internet scale standards and what they could ultimately become. Coinbase could have chosen to keep this as a isolated, verticalized DevX experience type thing and make it only work with Coinbase Rails. But that's no fun. There's no power in that. You don't get 170 million transactions by doing something like that. The value in this, and I think what we've seen with lots of other very successful open source, open projects, is that when you make a world where everyone sees an opportunity to collaborate, you don't embed value capture at the most fundamental level. You incentivize everyone to find their own way to adopt it and be part of the plumbing and the infrastructure that will make up this new agentic internet and this sort of paradigm shift that's happening in the way that we see people interacting broadly. Next slide. So another fun use case I wanted to highlight here is just like things that you can actually do. It's one thing to see an agent go off and engage with various different services, PDF to a podcast, but you can do things that I think are have been previously inconceivable across the internet because there's been no clean way to cross-compose across various different services. So this is just a short list of some of the existing endpoints that are available that you can call with your agent today and just pay via a one-time microtransaction. Many of these are actually run by the individual companies who have those endpoints, but we've also seen a pretty flourishing marketplace come up around sort of a proxy service, or people who are willing to say, hey, I know Claude doesn't necessarily support x402, but give me your payment and I'll just route you to Claude and handle that all for you. So the world of what's becoming possible with x402 is growing very rapidly, and you can do all sorts of interesting things like create an institutional memo that cross-composes data across various different providers that would be just a very frictionful process for humans that is now uniquely unlocked by agentic commerce that happens at scale. Next slide. And let's go to the next slide. So where are we headed? And I'm running a little bit out of time here, so I'll talk very briefly through this piece. Next slide. If there's one thing I want you to take away from today, and my highest conviction belief, it's that financial independence and agents having access to money is a precursor for agent autonomy. Even if you're scared about the prospect of an agent having money, that does solve a problem. We can do guardrails, we can do all sorts of policy engines and whatnot to make it such that your agent is only really spending what you allow it to. It's kind of like having gas in your or electricity maybe in your self-driving car. You trust it to figure out where it's going. You're not constantly monitoring it. Yes, you have some controls over it, but very broadly, it's a unique way to enable this new type of interaction. And I think we're already seeing this with now you trusting your agents to run on a longer loop. That's effectively guzzling more tokens. And that is, in some sense, agents having access to more money to spend to increase their autonomy. And I think this gets supercharged when your agent doesn't have to ask you to be a human in the loop to set up new tools, pay for things, create these boutique vendor relationships that are needed. Next slide. Some of these got duped. Anyways, next. Yeah, I think we're entering this world of a vibrant marketplace that we're going to see agents interacting both with one another, with existing services, and a rapid shift towards this new way of interacting. In the same way the 2010s were defined by every company having a web story and a mobile story, I think the 2020s or I guess the second half of the 2020s are going to be defined by this agentic story and the API-ification of all of these services such they can be ingestible by agents and by these different harnesses, which will only be accelerated by announcements like York mentioned about enterprise companies adopting agents like OpenClaw that are going to be running overnight on behalf of humans and need some way to engage in things that may not otherwise be available to them. Next slide. So yes, that's all I have. Thank you so much for listening.